A little bit of background. I am a Kansas City kid. When I say that, I have to admit I wasn't born here. I was born actually in Bryan, Texas. And for those of you that don't know where Bryan is, next to College Station, where a little place called Texas A&M University is housed. I was born in Texas when my father was going to school at Texas A&M, and actually my mom was in the first class they let women in at Texas A&M. The irony is that umpteen years later, I do spend some time at Texas A&M pretending to play football, and I wasn't very good. And when guys that were Joe's size, that were very large and could run faster than me and could hurt me, I decided it was time to do something else. The only claim to fame was that I was a quarterback that wasn't even on the depth chart at Texas A&M, but the #1 starter quarterback was a guy named Gary Kubiak, who was the head football coach at the Houston Texans. And I can recall being in film meetings after A&M bought Jackie Sherrill, and I say that directly, they bought him. That was an early age. I guess they all get bought these days, except in Arkansas. I kind of looked at it, and it was kind of fascinating. In its own way, it reminded me a lot of 1990 when I lived in Platte County. Okay? At that time, the Platte County EDC was like a year and a half old. But there was a real question mark in a lot of the civic community as whether or not the reliability, credibility, versus whether or not even there was a need to have a thing like the Platte County Economic Development Council. Now, I've been around everybody around here, and there's the same kind of conversation that unfortunately is getting brought up relative to the EDC in Kansas City, Missouri. So we got an issue that we need to get out and talk to folks and talk about what the good work is that's happening inside the agency and the professionals are doing it. So that's definitely job one. The other thing is that there was a pity party going on in Platte County at the time. If you talk to anybody that had any idea where the hell Platte County was, they go, "It's Weston and Platte County." Yeah. They know, the airport is too, guys. At that time, it was like, "Oh God, that airport, it's so far away. Oh my God, someday." I mean, everything was always couched in the future. And actually, in our little tagline, we had this: "A place for the future, a place for the future." Sometime out, everything was thought about. Well, someday maybe something will happen up there. Well, I'm kind of pleased about saying that stuff's happening. And when Jane talks about that 10,000 jobs, folks, guess what? Most of those are in Kansas City, Missouri. They just happen to be by the airport. So, I think there's some similarities here, again, with where Platte County was, and talking about, the pity party. There's a pity party that kind of happens every so often we hear in Kansas City, Missouri. I told the mayor when we visited about this position that it's not a differential between people that think of the glass half empty or half full. It's that it's 75% full, 25% empty, and we focus on the 25% empty. Now, I'm a recovering perfectionist. I mean, honestly, I am. I mean, not to get too sick and give too much information here, but I remember when growing up and playing ball in South Kansas City, and I remember pitching a no-hitter. Coach gave me a game ball, and he signed it. And he said, this 7-inning game. He said, it said on there, no-hitter, 15 strikeouts. I think it like 10 or 11 walks. So anybody that could walk, I walked. But anyway, I remember looking at it. Quite frankly, I go, 15 strikeouts. That means there's 6 guys I didn't strike out. I remember having my best basketball game I ever had. It was against Winnetonka. Of course, you always, oh, sorry, this is kind of a guy thing. Everybody remembers those guys. So I'm by this kind of honestly. So I have to work towards making sure that we don't just focus in on those things that divide us instead of what things really connect us. And I think we got a lot of great things going on, and we just need to put it all together. We're at a whole different place. And it's a time and place where it's time for us to start executing a positive strategy on really leveraging what makes this city great. It's its people. I am going to focus in on the people. I'm a people-based economic development professional. I am not a traditional place-based guy. Now, we have all of our tools and every acronym known to man that's based upon real estate abatement. Okay? So I told the mayor, if abating real estate property was the answer to our economic development ills, I think we'd be pretty successful. We we'd be pretty successful if that was the case right now, because that's been the tool we've used. So I think what my focus is going to be on, obviously, doing those place-based tools perfectly, applying them perfectly, is going to be our task, because that is, in fact, what we're handed in our tool belt. But we're going to start getting out and start talking about people and how it helps people. So we'll talk a little bit about that undoubtedly coming up. Hopefully, I'm worthy of being included maybe a year from now to kind of say a checkpoint of where we're at. Again, appreciate the time and energy that y'all have put into, again, being excited about being a downtown. Again, being around long enough, I know what downtown was, and what downtown is today is amazing. Amazing. And it took a lot of people to make this thing really be a true downtown that folks can be proud of. Still got work to do. There's still some really
That's exactly what the business development officers are tasked with doing, is get a relationship with that. And at that time, Bill Sproul was the only person in the city, EDC of Kansas City doing business retention for the entire city. So this isn't something that just, it's been a need for the EDC to do for years, and it's really cool that with the BEST program and the other things that have come through, Tom Trayvon is heading that committee. That's going to prove big dividends over time. It's not one of those things you can automatically say is going to work, but building those relationships are only going to be overall beneficial. So where I'd say that is I want to expand that significantly and make those connections even stronger, build some programming in that, get some of our elected officials into those businesses, actually get more awareness. We need to celebrate that entrepreneurship story that we have. And I think that's one of the things I think we'll leverage that out a little bit